How's it going, guys? Nordy back, bringing you some more StarCraft 2 content here. Sorry it's been a while since I made a video. I don't know if you guys have noticed, you probably have. My mic is pretty much garbage, so I've been working on trying to get a new mic for you guys, so my audio, doesn't sound like total trash. I was going to wait to make another video until I got that mic, but I felt kind of bad that I haven't made a video in probably about almost a week and a half, 2 weeks now, so just wanted to make this quick video just to let you all know I'm still looking to make StarCraft 2 videos. Still looking to do my Silver to Masters League playthrough here. So today, just gonna do a quick update for you guys. We're gonna do just some simple builds for Protoss against the different races. Just a quick update real quick though. I managed to make Platinum with Protoss, so we're back in Plat with Protoss. Still Protoss with Terran as well, and then I also managed to make Platinum with Zerg too, so we're Platinum all across the board now with all three races. I'm still Gold with Random, but I basically just mess around when I play Random, so not too worried about that. But yeah, made Platinum for all three races, so when I start my Silver to Masters again, we'll be starting back in Platinum, so that'll be exciting. So like I said, we're just gonna do some real simple build guides for you here. This is gonna be split into two different videos. This first video that you're watching right now, they're gonna be 3 videos, just simple macro builds for you guys, and then the next video will be some different cheese builds for you guys to if you guys wanna learn some cheese builds, I'll show you a few cheese builds. So if you want to look at that, you can look at the next video for cheese builds. But this video will just be macro builds. We're gonna do just one for each matchup. So we'll have a PvP build, a PvZ build, and a PvT build. I'm going to try to explain each build, just as thoroughly as possible. If you're looking for a specific build, you just want to see the PvT build or the PvZ build, I'll put the timestamp below in the description, so you guys can just skip ahead to that build if you want. But yeah, like I said, we'll try to explain as thoroughly as possible. I just played against the Elite AI, so I didn't have to worry about my opponent doing any sort of crazy shenanigans. I made it Elite, so maybe just try to make it just a little bit more real, so I can show you guys that you can actually beat decent armies with these builds. Obviously the Elite AI isn't that great, but it's at least a little bit closer to what a real person would do. As with any build, there's obviously going to be deviations depending on what your opponent's doing. I'll try to explain that as I go throughout the builds, what to do if your opponent does a certain thing. But most of these builds, after about 6 minutes, I mean, the build's pretty much, you're on your own at that point. It's just pretty much whatever you want to do. Just like the first 6 minutes, try to pay attention to that and see what I do. I probably won't be performing these builds exactly perfect, but I try to get them as close to perfect as I possibly could for you guys. So don't don't hate on me too much if I mess something up. I'm sure actually I know I messed a couple things up, but yeah. So for this first build, we're gonna be doing it's gonna be the PvP build. It's gonna be the just a 2-gate expo. If you watch people like Neeb, they open up with 2-gate expand. Basically, that means you build 2 gates before you expand. The reason we want to do this against PvP is because if your opponent goes for a 1 base all in, if you have 2 gates up, by the time you figure out that he's going for a one base all in, you're not caught with your pants down, so you're able to get a decent sized army out as well to combat him. And if he doesn't go if he goes for a standard macro build, then you're able to go into macro as well. But there's some different things you can do with this build in the game that I'll point out for you guys. So yeah, let's get right into it. So just gonna start off. It's gonna start off pretty standard. At 14 supply, you'll get a pylon. I usually put the first one, right here by this gas, and then at 15 supply, you'll get your first gateway, and then send that probe out to go scout. The first 3 pylons that I build, I usually put the first one right here, and the second one, right here by this gas, and then the third one in the back of a mineral line, just to have that nice triangle coverage, just in case your opponent does some sort of adept harass or oracle harass. You'll be able to photon overcharge with your mothership core to defend. So when that first probe goes out, I like to put them on control group 1, so I'm able to quickly select them if I need to. But I've noticed a lot of players, they'll when they send that probe out to go scout, they'll click down here and they'll shift click around their opponent's base, looking through the fog of war here at their opponent's base, not paying attention to their own what's going on at home. So what I found is a lot easier for me is I just have that probe, and then if you're looking at the mini map here where my cursor is, I just use the mini map to move him around. So I'll shift click. I'll usually start him right here, and then I'll just come around the back of the mineral line so I can get a good scout on his gas and everything. Then I'll just kind of swing up and around his base, and then I'll go back over here. Usually I'll send him right here for a couple seconds, and then I'll bring him back down to scout if they have a expand, or when they expand or anything, if they haven't expanded yet. So using your mini map, it's a little bit easier, I think, and it makes it so you don't have to take your eyes away from your base, what you're doing. So you get to focus on you a little bit more, which is important. So after you build that gateway, you'll send your probe to build the gas at 17. And then after that gas, you'll want to get a second gate up. So you can see my probe coming over here. Build that second gate. And then you'll get your second gas. Once this gas is done, you'll move 3 probes into that gas to start mining gas for you. And then you'll get your second pylon. Like I said, I'll put that pylon right here. You can see here the probe's coming down, getting down to the enemy's base here. Gonna get some good scouting information here. Try not to spend too much time looking at your opponent's base. Try to focus more on what you're doing. So at this point, there's a couple things you can do. I got my cyber core going up. It's the next thing you want to do after you get that pylon. As soon as this gate's done, you want to get your cyber core going up. So once that cyber core's up, there's a couple things you can do. You can either go for you can either build two adepts to do some early adept harass, or you can just build 2 stalkers for just at-home defense. Like I said, I'm not trying to get too fancy with these builds. I don't want to get super crazy and do any crazy warp prism harass or disruptor play. So I just want to do a straightforward build for you guys, because I know when I first started, I'd be looking for a build, and all the builds I'd find were all these things where you had to do all this crazy stuff, like dropping DTs into your opponent's main and all this craziness. And I thought, I just want a simple, straightforward build. So that's what I'm trying to show you guys. So I'm just gonna go for the two stalker build to start with. But like I said, you can build the 2 adepts. It's perfectly reasonable. You just build the 2 adepts, and then you'll bring him down to about right here, and then you can shade him into your opponent's main, your opponent's nat, and do some probe damage. But I will not be doing that, just so you guys know. But feel free to do that if you like. So we're going to get a third pylon up here in a second. I got my workers, got 3 workers in each gas, getting me some good gas mining going on. As soon as the cyber core's done, you'll want to get your warp gate going up, and then I'll start my 2 stalkers as well. Like I said, the stalkers are basically just for early game defense. They can help to ward off any oracles or adepts that come into your main. So right now at this point, I'll get a third pylon and then I'll expand. But really, what happens from here forward is up to, it kind of depends on what your opponent's doing. If you see that, like you see right here, my opponent hasn't expanded yet, but I made him a economic AI, so I know he's going to expand eventually. So, but if you're in a real match and you see your opponent hasn't expanded yet, there's a couple different things you could do. You could continue down the normal expansion road, or what you could do is you could send that scouting probe up here and build a proxy pylon and then a proxy gate. And then you could just start warping in stalkers to attack them that way. Or you could just build all your gates up at home, and you could build up to around six stalkers, and then go do some stalker harass. But like I said, in this build, again, I'm just going straight forward, so I'm just gonna go for a macro build. Just a couple different things you guys can do to get some early harass in. You can see there he was sending the scouting probe in, so I just warded that off with my stalkers there. Sending my probe down to expand. And get that second Nexi up in the natural expansion. I like to put my Nexus on control group 4, and then I'll put my mothership core on 3. Control group 2 I usually use for like spellcasters like Disruptors or High Templar, and then 1 will be my army. Right now it's just my scouting probe, and then 5 I like to put my robotics facility on. Getting the pylon on the front here to defend against any early pushes. You can see right here I'm continuing to build probes, even though I'm going over the amount of probes that this Nexus can support. It's a good idea to, even if you've reached the maximum 6 in the minerals and 3 and 3 in the gas, you want to keep building probes, because as soon as this second expansion is done, you can just transfer probes over to it, so you can get back to an even count. If you just completely cut making probes, then you're gonna be behind in economy. So you want to just keep building probes, even though you're going over the amount that is recommended for the base. Because like I said, you can just transfer them over anyway. So you want to continue to build probes. I leave my chrono boost on my Nexus here. It's more of a style choice. I mean, you could chrono this. See there, I'm starting to chrono that. You could have chronoed the warp gate a little earlier if you wanted to, but it's basically just a style choice. It doesn't matter too much. Got 2 sentries out to have some guardian shield just in case he comes and attacks me. Getting my robotic facility out and my Twilight Council to you can either go, I mean, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to do Zealots or Adepts, you can either get Charge or Adept Glaives. In this matchup, I'm going to go for Charge just because, I think Zealots are kind of cool, so I like to use Zealots, so I'll be going for Charge. You can see here my expansion's done, and like I said, I transferred those probes over, so now I'm back to relatively even there. So I just transferred them down to my natural, so I'm not behind in probes. What you're looking for in this build, and really all the macro builds I'm about to show you, is by about 8 minutes, and even if you can get it by 7 minutes, then that'd be even better. You want to have between 65 to 70 probes. The way to be able to tell that, if you just hover over your supply up here in the top right corner, you can see here I got 11 supply and army, and then I have 31 probes. So that's how you'll be able to tell how many probes you have. Like I said, you're looking for that 65 to 70 range. Once you hit 65 to 70, you can stop making probes. That's a good enough probe count. I mean, you can certainly go higher if you want, but you don't want to go too high, otherwise you won't have enough supply and army. So I'm getting a observer out of my robotics facility so I can do some scouting. Continue to make sure I make 2 probes at a time. It's very essential. You don't want to forget to make any probes. Like I said, I'm getting Charge, and I'm also getting a Forge so I can start my upgrades. Upgrades again are really important. You don't want to be you don't want to be behind in upgrades, otherwise your army's just gonna get wrecked. continue to get more gates out so I can keep my army production going. So at this point, I messed up a little bit. I should have already built these 2 gases, but I have not yet. So it's a little bit of a mistake by me, but not too big a deal. Got my forge up, so I'm going to start +1 ground weapons here in a minute. Working on getting that mortal count going. So my army composition I'm looking for here is basically just looking for a nice mix of stalkers, immortals, and and a few charge lots mixed in. Because again, I think they look cool. You can go for adepts if you want. It really doesn't matter too much. But I think charge lots are pretty good. But what you really want is you want to have probably around at least 4 to 5 immortals, and then just a bunch of stalkers. And then a couple of sentries for Guardian Shield as well. Got my gases going up, so I'm going to start transferring probes over there. Gonna come down here and I'm gonna build my my 3rd nexus. And again, just continue to make probes, even though I'm about to. You can see here I'm about to go over. Like I said again. Once that 3rd's done, I can just transfer probes over, so you want to continue to make probes. Working on that army, working on getting that army count going. Gonna build a 2nd forge there to get double upgrades. Another thing with this map in particular, I haven't done it yet. I will eventually, but if you want to do it sooner, you can put 2 probes over here on these Xel'Naga watchtowers, because they'll give you a real nice field of view of the middle of the map, so you'll be able to see your opponent pushing out on you. So really in any map, if the map has a Xel'Naga watchtower, you really want to think about taking control of that so you have some good map vision. See here, I'm continuing to make immortals, get my stalker count going. So at this point in the build, I mean, at this point, and really probably even sooner, everything from this point on is pretty much just up to you. You could attack right now if you really wanted to. He's got a Colossus right now, so I'd probably lose this fight if I did attack, but I'd probably just back off once I saw the Colossus. But I mean, like I said, everything from this point on is kind of up to you, at your own discretion. I'm gonna work. What I do is I continue to saturate this base and get my gases up. I'm gonna throw workers into here, and then once that's done, I'm gonna get a 4th nexus. As you can see, I'm placing that now for when my minerals start to dry up. I'll transfer my probes down to that one. Continue to get my army count going. Making sure I continue my upgrades. You can see here I'm making +2 ground weapons, and I'm getting +1 armor. I'll start +2 armor as soon as this one's done. Gonna continue to make a bunch of gateways so I have a good army production. Before you make a push though, before you push across the map, you really want to make sure you have a warp prism. I do not have one yet. Probably should have made one a little bit ago, but haven't yet. I will eventually make one. But you really need a warp prism so you're able to warp in units to support your army. It's one of the advantages Protoss has. They don't have to parade push across the map. They can just warp in directly at the front. So definitely want to take advantage of that when you attack. But yeah, from this point on, like I said, it's kind of stylistic choices. I mean, it's just up to you what you want to go. You can continue making stalkers and immortals. You can switch to Colossus if you want to. You can get a bunch of Stargates, and you can start switching to teching up to air if you really want to do that. It's just basically just up to you at this point. I was just trying to show you guys, just a simple macro build to get you guys going, get you guys started. So we're just gonna fast forward a little bit here. I'll show you guys the fight and everything, just to show you guys that this army can actually beat something. You can see here he's coming down. Stop that. He's got a bunch of Colossus here, so he's also got some disruptors. He's gonna start sending disruptor shots at me, so I'm gonna back off there. Don't want to get caught by a disruptor or anything. Focus down those Colossus there. continuing to make sure I activate Guardian Shield if it goes down. See there, I backed my army off because he threw a disruptor shot. You don't want to get tagged by one of those because it'll wreck your day pretty quick. This ends up being a pretty close fight right here. I managed to beat him, but just barely. It's pretty devastating on both sides, but we're pretty even as far as workers go. Fast forward again. Just gonna work on remaxing that army. I'm gonna start pushing out now to do some damage to him since I took out most of his army. I believe, yeah, he's down in upgrades, so he's got 2 +2 +1 +1, and I have 3 2, so I have better upgrades than he does. Again, he's just the AI, but still. Got my army coming down there to reinforce. I believe, yep, I got my warp prism coming across to make sure I can reinforce at the front. Just fighting this army out here. Gonna keep trickling in units. Finally got my warp prism down so I can start warping in units. And yeah, I mean, when you're attacking, basically what you want to do when you attack, what you're really looking to do is, I mean, A, kill his army obviously, and then B, you want to take out his economy. You can see here he's got an Artosis pylon here, so you want to take that out real quick so you can take down all of his production. Basically just looking to cut off the economy of your opponent. If this was against a real player, he probably would have GG'd by now, but the AI likes to take their sweet time, their sweet ass time freaking getting out of the match, so I have to kill pretty much every building before he leaves. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that build. If there's anything you guys want me to explain a little bit more, I can sure do another video of this build. Just let me know. But for now, we'll hop into the next build. So for the next one, this will be the PvZ build. This one's going to be a 1-gate expand into basically just like a massive amount of archons and chargelets and adepts. The reason for that being that, you know, archons, they get the plus damage to bio units, which all Zerg units are bio units, so archons do really well against that. Also, if you go archons and he like, let's just say he goes mutas, archons are able to just completely wreck mutas, so be able to shut down any muta harass. If he goes, you know, ling heavy, and you'll be able to completely destroy all the lings he does with that he makes with the archons and the charge lots. If he goes roaches, like you'll also want a few immortals in there as well to deal with the roach, to help deal with the roaches as well. But if he goes roaches, you know, the archons are pretty tanky, so you'll be able to take out the roaches as well. And again, the charge lots will help out significantly in defending against that. So that's going to be the basic plan for this build here. Let's get right into that one. So this build will start off basically the same as any other build. 14 pylon, 15 gateway. But that first pylon you want to build at the front here to wall off the main. When I build the pylon, I like to build it so the you know, like the when you build the pylon, you can see the you know, like the ring, the power radius that it gives off. I like to build it so that ring is just, you know, barely skimming the top of this ramp here, so I know it's far enough back to where it won't be in the way when I place my buildings down. So, and then when you'll place your gateway right here, and then your cybercore right here. You know, leave just a 1 square opening right here to put your zealot in, just in case they, you know, just in case they do some sort of ling rush or a roach bust on you or something like that. So that's why you want to wall off against Zerg, because they like to do those quick Zergling rushes. Sometimes I know there's a lot of freaking cheesers out there on the ladder, so you'll definitely want to wall off every time you play Zerg. As soon as that probe is done, and then the next probe tries to start but gets a supply block because the pylon is there, I have Total Biscuit as my announcer, and he usually says your supply block to build more pylons or something like that. As soon as I hear that, I send a probe over to build the gateway. So there, I build the gateway, and then I'm going to send him out to scout again. If you watch the previous build, I use the mini map to shift click to send that scouting probe around, so I don't have to spend time looking at my opponent's base, you know, trying to maneuver my probe around. So after that, you'll build at 17. You'll build your gas there. So what's different from this build from the next one? In the last build, you know, I would have built a gateway next, but this time I will not be building a gateway next. At 19 supply, I'm going to expand with another nexus. Like I said, this is a 1-gate expand, so I just rally that 19th, the probe that will make the 19th supply. I rally him down to the natural so I can build the expansion. When your scouting probe comes over here against Zerg, if you see this hatchery that's going up right here, then you know you're safe to expand. If you don't see the hatchery, you're going to want to be a little bit wary. Usually, I mean, the AI puts it right out in front, but usually players will put their spawning pool in the back. So that's why you want to, when you do your scouting probe, you want to send them across the back of the mineral line to be able to see if he's got a pool. By the time your probe gets there, if the pool is finished, then you want to completely just abandon this build. Don't expand. Build a second. What you want to do is you want to build a second gateway, and then just start getting you know, adepts and or zealots out. You can go charge lot. That works really well against Ling rushes. Yeah, you want to stay on one base and just work on getting adepts and zealots out. Also, if you scout and you see a pool finished and a roach warren starting, then again you want to completely abandon this build, because he's going to do a roach bust on you, which is it's gonna hit you at like 4 or 5 minutes, and it's just going to crush you if you expand. So if you see the roach warren building, you know, if you see the pool done and you see something building over here, click on it, and if you see it's a roach warren, then you want to get your gate or your robotics facility up as quick as you can, and then just start pumping out immortals to deal with those roaches that are going to come at you. So that's what you do if you come down here and you don't see the expand. But if you come over here and you see that he's got a hatchery, and you come up and you see that the pool is just building, then you're safe to expand and you can continue doing this build. I know that was kind of a lot. It might have been a little bit confusing, but I promise it'll make sense to you the more you play. And if you want me to explain it again, you know, I'll explain it in future videos as well. Then I'm building the cyber core to complete my wall off here. Get my second gas, and then I'm using the same probe that built that nexus. Brought him back up, and I built the cyber core, and then I sent him down, and I built the gas, and then I'm going to send him back over here, and I'm going to build another pylon right here. On this map, we'll wait for the pylon to go down here. So on this map in particular, it's a little bit different for the other maps, but it's basically the same. I build it so the pylon radius or whatever is kind of just like barely not touching the corners here, so I'm able to build buildings on each side, because you want to wall off your main as well against Zerg. So you want to get that when you build the second pylon, you want to put it down at your natural so you can start walling off the map as well. Got that gas up, so I'll start putting probes into that. Continue to make probes as well, another key thing. Once this is done, you want to start pumping out warp gate. Also, as soon as this is done, you want to build your Twilight Council down at the nat to start walling off. And then directly after the Twilight Council, you build a gateway right next to it to continue the wall. See there, I got my gateway going up. You want the Twilight Council so early so you can get Adept Glaives or Charge. I'll be getting Charge. Yeah, if you're doing this build, you'll want Charge first. You can see his probes coming, or his drones coming down to get some scouting in, but got this one done, so I'm gonna make sure I can, or I start making 2 probes at a time. I got my mothership core out to do some photon overcharge, just in case he does any sort of early. I mean, usually Zerg will like to send their first 4 Zerglings that they make to try to get some damage in, so you'll want that mothership core out. I also build a depth as well as soon as I get these 2, the Twilight Council and the gateway made. I build in a depth. Get another gateway over here to complete the wall. This is kind of just another stylistic choice. At the natural, I like to leave a two square space. So when I build the Archons, I can, because the Archon can't move through a one square space because it's real fat, and it's not really fat. It's pretty muscular actually. It's been hitting the gym too much, so it can't fit through that tiny door. It can't slip through the side. So I like to leave a two space there, but you can, if you want to, you can just put another pylon right here and make it a 1 space if you want. But I usually just do a 2. A 2 square space is pretty easy to defend as well. You just have to put 2 adepts there instead of just 1. Oh, I guess I do get. So I get a resonating glaze before I get charged. I start chronoing that out. Start getting warp gate as well. I got a pylon up here. I'm gonna do my standard triangle pylon. Build the dark shine so I can get DTs out as fast as I possibly can. If I ever miss something in the, if I ever miss telling you guys that I built something, you can just look in the production tab here. Yep, I might miss something here and there. So I got my 2 adepts here, so I'm going to start positioning them to wall off the main here, or the natural here. And to make them stay in one spot, I didn't know this for a little while, so you just push the H key and they'll stay put no matter what. So you just push the H key there so they don't move around on you if the enemy comes around. Got warp gate done, so I'm gonna start turning these into warp gates. Building a robotics bay and another gateway and 2 forges, so I can start double upgrades. Continuing to make probes. Getting my my gases down here. I got them at a reasonable time this time. If you watched the last video, I was a little bit late on my gases. I'm just warping in a bunch of adepts. Got my DT shrine up, so I'll start warping in DTs here in a minute. Now that my robotics facility is done, I'm going to get an observer and send it across the map. The observer acts as kind of 2 things in this build. 1, it'll act as basic scouting, and 2, if you put it above their army and then they build an overseer and they take out your observer, you know that they have detection. So now that you have the DT shrine, when you're building DTs, don't morph them into Archons right away. If they don't build any detection, then your DTs are just going to totally, wreck their entire army, and they're going to have nothing to deal with it because they don't have any detection. So don't warp your DTs in until you see that they have detection. So that's kind of what your observer will act as. It'll act as A, the scout, and B, the guinea pig for testing to see if they have detection. I'm gonna start getting some immortals out as well. Getting +1/+1, and I'm also getting charge as well. Forgot to mention that. You can see there I'm warping in some 3 DTs, but like I said, I'm not gonna change him into Archons just yet because he doesn't have detection yet. Got my 3rd going up. So this one's a little bit faster on the 3rd than the last build if you watch the PvP build. Also, if you did not watch the last one, you can see here that I'm building more probes than this Nexus can handle, but that's because you don't want to ever stop probe production, even if the probe count's getting too high, because as soon as your 3rd is done, or when you got your 2nd, if you're building them off your main, as soon as that next expansion's done, you can always just transfer your probes. So you never want to stop your probe production, especially against Zerg, because Zerg can heavily outdrone you, way faster than you can make probes. So you want to keep up with the economy. So Want to keep that probe count going. Got my immortal up. Continue to make sure I build more gateways. So again, at this point, you know, we've kind of reached that point where, you know, everything is basically at this point. It's kind of from the 6-minute mark on. You know, everything at that point is kind of up to you, and B, up to, you know, what you see your opponent doing. You know, you got to react to what your opponent's doing. You'll see here in a minute. He's gonna finally get detection. He's gonna snipe my observer, and as soon as he does that, I'll morph these into Archons. But if your opponent never did that, if you never got detection, then like I said, keep the DTs as DTs, because they're just gonna wreck your opponent's entire army. He's not going to be able to see them because he doesn't have any detection. You want to get this thirds up, so I'll start. You can see here I'm starting to transfer my probes over there. I'm going to get a fourth pretty soon. I'll continue to play the video, but I'm just telling you guys what I'm thinking in my mind at this point. As soon as these are done, I'm going to start +2/+2. Continue to get more immortals out. I'll start getting more DTs, more depths, and just a bunch of charge lots here in a minute. Like I said, from this point on, everything's kind of just up to you and what your opponent does. The build is basically over. Everything from this point on, you know, it's going to be vastly different from game to game. But like I said, continuing to make probes, making 3 at a time now, warping in more DTs. Because he does not have detection yet, so I'm thinking, haha, I'm just going to kill him with the DTs. It's going to be like ghosts in the night. You ain't going to know what hit him. Work on just getting just a crap ton of gateways here. I think in this one I forget to get +2/+2 for a little while, so that's a mistake by me, but you definitely want +2/+2. You can see here he finally got detection, so he got that, so I immediately noticed that, and immediately I morphed these into Archons since I know now that he has detection. So the DTs aren't very useful as DTs anymore. They're more useful as Archons to me. But had he not got detection, I would have just kept him DT. Got my zealots there. But they look kind of cool. I think they look pretty BA, especially with the black skin there. I think they look pretty awesome. And then my color with white. I usually do white for my color. I think they look pretty awesome. Anyway, I got my probes here at the Xel'Naga watchtowers because they you know, gives you real good vision on the middle of the map, so you can see your opponent moving out. To avoid that, you know, he'd have to walk all the way around the edge of the map there, which usually nobody ever does. So it's always a good thing to control these Xel'Naga watchtowers. Got my fourth going up there, getting +2 now. Like I said, I was a little bit late on that. Should have started that a long time ago. I'm starting to chrono those out now. Got a bunch of gateways up, building more. Continue to make sure the army keeps going up. Getting a warp prism, because it's pretty essential, especially against Zerg, to have a warp prism at the front to warp in units, because, you know, Zerg can remax in, like, you know, just a second. So you want to have that forward reinforcing power. Warping in more, like I said, just warping in more Archons. This is a very Archon heavy build. You'll see here in a minute that the Archons just absolutely wreck Zerg bioforces. See here, he's moving out. I'm going to scout that here in a minute because I have the Xel'Naga watchtowers. They found your probes. You can see here, I can see his army moving out since I have these under control. So that's why it's a good thing to keep control of those deals. So I respond by moving my army down. I'm going to start moving my Mothership Corps over as well to photon overcharge these pylons at the front. Got my Guardian Shield up to reduce that range damage. And I'm basically just going to wreck this army with these Archons. Like I said, the Archons If you didn't know, Archons do bonus damage to bio units, so, and all Zerg units are bio units, so that's why Archons are so strong against them. And since I just wrecked his whole army, I'm just gonna push across the map. I'm gonna warp in some more zealots in the back here. Get that charge lot count going. I like to, on this map anyway, I like to attack over here. I don't like to come, because usually people leave their army around here. I don't like to attack up a ramp, so I like to go up this ramp because usually they don't leave their army over here. Just, again, like a style choice. I see his expansion there, so I'm going to quick turn and take that out real quick. When you're attacking a Zerg, the things you want to take out most, again, like all, you know, obviously you want to take out his army, but you really want to take down these hatcheries, because that's how Zerg builds players build units. So hatcheries and drones are your main focus. Got my warp prism up. Keep on warping in units there. Just let you guys watch this real quick. I'm gonna go get some water real quick. So I kind of messed up this engagement a little bit here. You can see I was all over the place with my units, and I managed to lose most of my army. But I just I had this warp prism in the back, so I was able to, you know, reinforce pretty easily. And yeah, at this point, you know, it's pretty much game over. Just gonna come in, take him out. I like to send my main army to attack his main base, and then I'll send in some charge lots to attack, you know, the lower bases. You see here, I'll just warp in a bunch of charge lots and send them to this base over here to take it out, while I'm pushing my main army up here to take the main base out. Then I'll warp in a bunch of adepts and send them over here and take out that base. So I'm attacking them in a bunch of places at once. And so there's that build for you guys. Hope that helps you out. Hope you guys learned something there. I've used this build in probably the last 5 PvZ matches that I've played, and I haven't lost a single PvZ match since I started using it, so it works pretty well. So the next one we'll be going for a PvT build. This is also going to be a 1-gate expansion build, so it's going to be very similar to the PvZ build, only we're not going to wall off the main, and instead of going, you know, mass Archons, we're going to be going for a lot of adepts and immortals. Reason being, adepts, you know, with the adept glaive upgrade, they pretty much just wreck bio, and Terran likes to go heavy on bio, and immortals will help to deal with any marauders or tanks that they have, and then, you know, obviously a few sentries here and there for Guardian Shield too. But so that's the plan with this build. But other than the army composition, like I said, it's going to be pretty much the same as the PvZ build. Production going there. So, as normal, it's going to be 14. We'll put a pylon down. Since we're playing as Terran, again, no need to wall off the main like we did with Zerg. So we'll just put the pylon here, put another one here, and another one here. It's really important, really, almost more important with Terran than any other race to have good pylon placement, because one, you know, that early game Reaper that, you know, basically every Terran player does. If you know, your pylons are just all over the place, you know, you won't have good pylon coverage to defend that Reaper. Or if they bring drops in and you don't have a pylon in the back, you know, you won't be able to photon overcharge the back and they'll just be able to wreck your entire mineral line. So in a PvT, you really want to think about your pylon placement and make sure your pylons are in strategic places to help you A, defend against any sort of drop or Reaper play, and B, making sure you don't have like an Artosis pylon, one pylon powering all your buildings, that if your opponent takes it out, they'll be able to knock out your entire production. So you really want to think about your pylon placement. So at 19, you build the Nexus. Got my probe over here scouting as usual. Build the cyber core up. Gonna get another gas. Then we'll build a probe, and then we'll put another pylon. We'll put that pylon right there. Got my probe scouting, like I said. I see the expansion, so I know I'm safe to have the expand there. If you were to send your probe up and you scouted and you saw no expansion, and let's say he had no expansion and he had 2 gases, and maybe he had 2 barracks and a factory on the way. He's probably doing something like a early Marine Marauder early Marine Marauder medevac push, or maybe he's doing Marine Tank Liberator. He could be doing a bunch of things off of just one base. So maybe you want to not expand and just go one base. Against Terran, it's really not. Usually their pushes are a little bit later anyway. Usually, most pushes for Terran usually come around 5 to 6 minutes. So really, if you expanded, it really wouldn't be too big a deal. But if you wanted to be safe and just go one base, use Sure Kid. But if you scout and you see the expansion, then you're definitely safe to expand. So just make sure you pay attention. If you scout and you see 3 barracks, then he's probably doing a real quick Marine push on you. So then you'll probably want to go one base. But just got to react to what your opponent's doing. Kind of just get a feel for what Terrans like to do. Got my probe here, checking out the Zelnaga watchtower there, making sure I got good map presence. You can see here I got that good triangle pylon placement like I was talking about before. Continue to make probes. Get my mothership core out. Gonna build a robox facility there to start pumping out immortals. Get another gate going. So in I didn't do this in this match. A bit of a mess up by me, since I knew it was an AI and you probably wouldn't do Reaper. But in a real game, as soon as your cyber core is done, build an adept to defend against the Reaper, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to send a Reaper at you. So as soon as your cyber core is up, build a adept, and then try to get your mothership core out as soon as possible to deflect that Reaper. I didn't do it in this match because, again, I knew I was playing against the AI, and I knew the AI wouldn't do a Reaper harass on me, so I did not build it. But I should have built it just to show you guys, but I did not. But you guys should definitely build the adept. Gonna get another gate there. See what my opponent's doing here. Looks like he's just going for a standard marine tank build. Pumping out a observer there so I can see what he's up to. Continue to make sure, since I got my expansion up, I'm making sure I build 2 probes at a time. Like I've stated in other videos, I like to leave my chrono on my next eye to get those probes out a little faster, but it's kind of just a style choice. You could transfer the chrono over to the cyber core to get warp get out a little faster. It really doesn't make too big a deal, or too big a difference. It's basically just a style choice. So you can do either or. Got my forge and my Twilight Council going up. I'm gonna start getting adept glaives as soon as that's done, and +1 ground weapons once the forge is done. Warp gate's done, so I'll start turning those gates into warp gates. Warping in some adepts. Like I said, we're gonna go for a mostly adept heavy force. Observers come down, so come over to scout to see what he's got. See he's going marine tank, so adepts are a good call. I start chronoing out my upgrades there to get them a little bit quicker. Getting my gas going up. Continuing to make probes, even though my Nexus is oversaturated, because again, you can just transfer the probes. Gonna build a third over here as soon as I got the money for it. I'm supply blocked, so that was a mistake by me. Definitely want to make sure you're not getting supply blocked. But got my third going up. We get some pylons around the third to help defend. Against a real person, it might be smart to put some cannons in the back of your mineral lines, just in case, for A, for drops, and B, to detect any widow mines that he may drop on you. So you might want to think about doing that. Start getting out some immortals. Continuing to get in some adepts there. Keep making probes. Adept glaze is about to be done. Got my gases going up on this base. So, as with the other two builds, if you watch them, pretty much from here on, you know, it's kind of the build is pretty much over. You know, everything from here on is basically up to you. You can continue going down the road that I'm going to go on, which is just mass adepts with immortals. You'll see it works pretty well. As soon as this expansion's up, you'll obviously want to transfer all these probes that are oversaturating your base. You want to transfer them over, and then think about getting a fourth base as well, because your main will probably start to be mining out pretty shortly. You're going to want to keep getting your gate count going. Keep those upgrades up. I'm gonna get a second forge here pretty soon to go get double upgrades going. If you wanted to, you could get a robotics bay and you could start pumping out Colossus if you wanted. That's always a good deal. You could also get disruptors as well. They work really well against marine, or they work really well against Terran players who favor bio pretty heavily. Like I said, I do end up getting a couple Colossi in this match, but I'm not going to do disruptors because I didn't want to show you guys any craziness, any crazy builds, but you can definitely get disruptors if you want to. They are not a bad choice. As long as, if your player's going for if your opponent's going for a lot of mech though, then don't get any disruptors, and probably just go for Colossus if you're going to get a robotics bay, because disruptors aren't as good against mech as they are against bio, so that's why you want to have the scouting unit down here, looking at their army comp there. But yeah, I'll continue to play the match, but I mean, like I said, the build's about over here. Just make sure you continue to get immortals going. Continue to warp in some adepts. You can get charge if you want. You can go charge lot if that suits your fancy. But it's basically just up to you at this point. It's up to you, and it's kind of up to what your opponent's doing as well. I'm just going to fast forward here. Transferring my probes over here. I'm going to get a fourth base here in a minute. So there I'm getting my fourth. Putting some pylons down there to defend the fourth there. Warping in more adepts. Going to start getting some stalkers as well, just in case he gets liberators. He's got his SCV here, so it's blocking that one, but I got my probes up here at the Zelnaga watchtowers, scouting to make sure my opponent isn't moving out on me, which he is right now, as you can see. He's got a pretty heavy mech force, actually. See here, I got a Colossus, got some zealots in there. We got extended thermal lance. Basically, just gonna wreck this army here. This Colossus pretty much just does work here. You can see here the adept heavy army works pretty well. And at this point, I'm just gonna parade push across the map and pretty much crush him. Yep, moving across. Got my warp prism. I think he managed to take it out, actually. Yeah, he took that warp prism out, so that was a bit of a mistake. I ran it right into a turret there. But... Yep. Got another one down here, though. I got two of them, actually. Just warping in Zealots, trying to take out his mineral line. Taking out his production and his main. A real opponent would have left long ago by this point, but since it's the AI, they like to be difficult. And there it is, guys. There's the PvT build. Alright, so there's the 3 macro builds I wanted to show you guys. I hope you guys found that helpful. Like I said, you know, when I first started out, when I first started out and I was looking for builds, I was looking for something real simple to do, and all I kept running into were all these crazy builds that I thought were too complex for me. So I wanted to keep these builds just real simple. Didn't do any crazy warp prism play or anything like that, but just real simple, straightforward builds. I've used all 3 of these builds to get me to platinum, so they definitely work. If you want to see me do them against real opponents, definitely just look out for my next videos. You know, you'll probably see one of these builds. You'll more than likely see one of these builds in the next videos to come. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see any more macro builds, if you want to see, you know, maybe a little bit more complex builds, just let me know. These definitely aren't the only 3 builds I use. I got a lot more, so if you want to see a little bit more complex builds, I can definitely show you some more complex builds if you want. Like I said, in the next video, we're gonna do some cheesy builds. So if you wanna look at some cheesy builds, then look out for that video. If not, then like I said, I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you guys learned something, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys. Nordy out.